Welcome to the Bettendorf Public Library's Take Home Workshop. This month we're going to be making Celtic knot bracelets. The Celtic knot is a mainstay of Irish design, made probably most famous through illustrated manuscripts like the Book of Kells, and we're going to be doing a simple one. They can be very complicated, but I chose this one because it was a little bit easier for me to wrap my head around. So let's see what's in your kit so you can make one too. So in your kit, you're going to find a 2-foot piece of green paracord. We chose a nice Irish Kelly green. And you could do this bracelet with other types of cords. You could get something with some glitz to it, but I like the green paracord for our Irish bracelet. You're going to have a couple little packets of bracelet findings, and in there you're going to find a few things. These are little ribbon crimps. These are what will go on the ends of your cords. We have a ring and barrel toggle, so the bar just goes through that to hold it in place. And then we're actually going to give you 2 sets of jump rings. So on my bracelet here, I have this set of jump rings, and these are split rings. So they'd be similar to like a keychain where you have to pry them open and it slides on. They're very, very secure. They are also very tricky to get open, so much so that it's just, I don't know, I found it very difficult. So while I like the security of it, in case that is too tricky, it might help to have like a third hand. We gave you a couple of standard jump rings as well, and these will be the kind that you just bend, you slide on, and then you squeeze them back together again. So also pretty secure, not quite as secure, but again, unless you're going to be pulling on your bracelet really hard, you should be okay with those. So it's up to you which you prefer. You also have the instructions for your bracelet, and then included with this in your instructions is this illustration to show how the cord goes. I made mine a little bit bigger to make it easier to see on camera, but you have that as well. What you will supply is a pair of scissors to cut your cord, and then the rest of these things are optional but very helpful. Tape or something to secure your cord to your surface. So if you have like a corkboard and pins, you could use that, but I find it helpful to tape one of the cords down and then weave the other one through it. You're going to want to have a way probably to secure your ends, we'll say that. So paracord will fray. So you want to treat your ends in some way to keep it from fraying. It's not mandatory, but I do recommend it. I find a flame works really well. You can just run the end through a candle very briefly. You can use a little bit of glue of any sort. You could use a little tape, anything that will keep that end from fraying farther. So that's all of our supplies, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is we have 2 feet of cord here, which should be plenty. Most bracelets are in the 7-inch range. So we have 2 feet of cord, and we're just going to take and fold it in half, and then we're going to cut it. Then we want to secure these ends. So I like using the flame. I light my candle. I just barely pass it through. And when I'm done, it's a little bit blackened, but not too bad, and it melts it a little bit so that it'll keep it from fraying. This end, when you're all said and done, will not show. So if this little bit of black end is okay. You could also just dip it in a little glue, give it a little roll to make sure it's all tight, and then let it dry. So that's another option for you. So once we have our 2 pieces cut and our ends solidified, we're going to take 1 piece. I'm going to make it look like a fish, I guess, sort of. So you're coming up, you're looping around, and the bottom one comes up over the top. And now I'm going to tape that down. Again, if you have like a corkboard with pins, you could do it on that, anything like that. But I just want it to stay in place so it's not moving around. Then I'm going to follow my diagram, and I'm just going to So this green cord is the bluishy purple one, and I'm going to take my other green cord and I'm going to loop it through this one according to the diagram. So if I start, I'm going across the top of these two with an end kind of sticking out there. And if you want, you can do the same sort of thing. And I'll just put it right on my pattern where I'm taping that end down so it's not going to go anywhere. So it's going to go over cord one again, but then underneath right here. And then it's going to go over this cord. Then we're going to take it around. It's going to go under cord one, over itself, and then under cord one again. So that's how it's going to look kind of at its big form. Then I'm going to take my pattern out of here. I'm going to take my tape off. And now I'm going to take my ends and I'm just going to pull. And there you have it. It's a simple Celtic knot, but a classic. So that's our Celtic knot. And then all we have to do is put our findings on. What you want to do is measure your wrist and see how big your bracelet is. If you have another bracelet that fits the way you want it to, that would be a good thing to measure too. For this bracelet, you need to take into account the width of a couple jump rings as well as the bar and toggle. And you want to give yourself a little bit of play. When you're putting this bracelet on, your two jump rings here need to pretty much touch so that you can get the ring over the bar. So give yourself, maybe a 1/4 inch more than you think you might need than the actual length of the bracelet to make sure you have enough play to get that on. So I'm going to make mine, this one I believe was 6 1/2. I'm going to make this one 6 3/4 because I can't really get this one on without help. Although I do like how that fits, but I'm going to see if I can't get it better. So I'm going to make it 6 3/4, and then I'm going to trim and melt these ends again, and then I'll show you how to put the hardware on. So I've trimmed my ends and I ran them briefly through a frame to melt them a little bit so they don't fray. When I cut the length, I knew I wanted it to be 6 3/4, so half of that is about 3 3/8. So I put the center of my knot at 3 3/8, and then I cut to either side. That way your knot is centered or pretty close to centered. So now we want to put our hardware on the ends, and I am going to assemble my hardware and then put it on. So what you're going to want is a ribbon crimp, and then a jump rig, and then 1/2 of your toggle clasp. So, and I'm using not the split ring jump rings, I'm using just the standard ones. So you just bend them a little bit, slide in a crimp, slide on 1/2 of your toggle, and then tighten them up again. And you want to give them a little squeeze to make sure that gap is as closed as possible. Pliers might help. If you like working with pliers, you can do that. So there's your one end. Then we're going to do the exact same thing on this side. Open up our jump ring, put our ribbon crimp in, put the end of our clasp in, and close that back up again. And there are your two ends with your findings, with your clasp. Now we're going to put our ends together, and we're going to take our ribbon clamp and we're going to slide it over there, and we're just going to squeeze nice and tight. So this is one where if you want to put a little glue in there to help secure it, you can. If you think that you don't have it in there very well, you can usually pry it open a little bit, especially if you have a pair of pliers. Get your cord in there again, give it another little tight squeeze. So we're going to do that again on this end. We've got our two sides together. We're going to put our ribbon crimp over it and squeeze nice and tight. And it's got little teeth there, and they grab on and they hold it pretty tightly. I would recommend putting glue in there. Even just like if you have a school glue or something like that, put that in there, let it dry, and it'll just give you that much extra security. So there's your finished bracelet. To put it on, you just slide the bar through the loop of your toggle. And then it's all set. Now, I did measure this one poorly, so this is probably looser than I would ordinarily want it. Since I haven't glued my ribbon crimps yet, I can take those off, trim it down a little bit, and reapply them. So before you put glue in your ribbon crimps, it might be a good idea to try your bracelet on and make sure it is the size you want. We would love to see the bracelets that you make, whether you make them with this green paracord or if you go on to make them with something else. We would love to see that. So share that please with us on social media. And we'd like to thank our Global Gathering Ireland sponsors for this take-home workshop.